This is the Superpowered Mind podcast for inquiring individuals who are tired of the struggle for peace, happiness, and clarity. I'm Claire Diamond, ready to help you explore the principles of the mind, the self, and reality to unlock ultimate mental freedom. This podcast is the one to listen to if you're ready to experience the capabilities of the superpowered mind. Hi everyone, welcome to episode 12. Today we're looking at the biggest question of all, and it's the question that's at the heart of mental freedom, it's at the heart of peace, it's the heart of a mind set free into its own actual power, its actual sanity. And the question is, what is reality? And we've got our lovely quote from Albert Einstein, which says, "Reality is an illusion, albeit a persistent one." And it's an illusion because reality is the product, the creation of the perceiver. There isn't an objective reality out there. And there isn't an objective reality of self either. The self-understanding, the idea of what I am, and the external reality are made of the same conditioning. They are part of the same foundation of understanding, the same tower of learned beliefs. They're synonymous. And another quote which is really helpful for us, I think, in looking at what is actually going on is from Deepak Chopra. I'll read it slowly because there's a lot in it. "The real you is a field of intelligence in which the person you have identified yourself with, all other persons, as well as the environment in which they exist, all co-arise and co-evolve as a result of your own self-interactions." And this quote is incredible at helping us understand what is actually going on in the moment-by-moment experience of what we are and of what the world is. So the starting point is the real you. What you really are is a field of intelligence. That's it. What you are is the infinite, absolute consciousness or presence, openness in which all content arises. The content isn't you. The field of intelligence, the field of consciousness in which the content arises is you. So you are the enabling space. Without you, no content as in the way that it appears. And another quote that was really great here is from Chandler. "You believe that you live in the universe when in reality, the universe lives in you." The entire universe is living within the field of intelligence that you are. And the way it appears is because it's shaped and formatted by the perceptual body-mind. So for that field of intelligence to experience form, it needs a sensory body, a sensory mind, to experience through senses a world of sight, sound, touch, thought. And so the field of intelligence is what you are, and the content is being experienced through this interface, really, which the body-mind is, an interface between the absolute and then this relative world. Okay? And so the real you is a field of intelligence in which the person you have identified yourself with, so that's the ego, that's the identity, that's the Claire. So this is what I think I am. I think I am this individual, separate person that's making its own decisions, that is independent, that lives in it separately from the reality around it. But let's have a look, in which the person you've identified yourself with, all other persons, as well as the environment in which they exist. So there's me, there's all other people, and there's the entire environment in which the me, the other people exist. All of that co-arises, so appears as one, well, appears as separate things, but is actually arising as one happening and co-evolve. So the way this me, these others, this environment appears will change as a result of my own self-interactions. So it will change in accordance to what is understood from moment to moment about what I really am. Am I that individual, separate ego identity, or am I the field of intelligence in which that ego identity and all other people and environments exist? It's enormous because that dictates the entirety of reality. And it's like it's on a continuum, really. There's one extreme which has that me identity as the focus of everything. And that's when the ego is very vulnerable, very insecure, is the fear and the need and the shame and the insecurity that is inherent within that formation of an identity dictates everything. And from that space, so from that space of absolute insecurity, which is really, has to become a self-obsession, really, because the whole survival is on trying to secure that sense of what I am. Everything else, all other people, the whole environment exists in relation to that insecure identity. So, and we all see it in ourselves. So in those moments where the mind, the experience of being is gripped by this insecurity, everything we do, everywhere we go, everyone we speak to, really is a confirmation of that insecurity. We're trying to find a sense of rightness in ourselves, of peace, of happiness, of being okay. But everywhere we look, there's confirmation that we're wrong, that we're not liked, we're being isolated, we're ostracized, we're failing, we can't get anything right. And it's because the person you've identified yourself with and all other people, as well as the environment, are all a function of the self-interaction in that moment. When the self-interaction is one of total belief, a mind that is absolutely identified as this is what I am. I'm a separate individual. I need to try and do something to find security, find stability. That's how reality appears. But when the self-interaction is of a profound understanding that what I am is the field of intelligence in which all concept of self and other is arising, that is a completely different kettle of fish, to use the spiritual term. It's mind-blowing, and literally mind-blowing, because the mind, the identified mind that would get lost in the struggle of trying to solve the problem of separation, really, trying to find its way to wholeness from this unquestioned belief in separation, that identified mind is blown. It's decimated. It's shown for the confusion that it really is, and therefore it holds no conviction anymore, holds no power. And reality now is understood as this ongoing appearance of content that exists because of the field of intelligence and consciousness that we really are. And I think what's really interesting here, and why I mentioned spiritual bypass, is that understanding that the content is appearing because of the perceiver, because of the current understanding, that can be used as a way to protect the ego. So if in my life, if in this ongoing experience of being, someone is saying, Claire, your behavior is out of order. What you are doing is not okay. You need to apologize to so-and-so, or you need to make some changes. You need to live with more integrity. And that might be really challenging for an ego to hear, particularly if that ego is identified in being always right, in some, being ethical, being honest. And so to hear someone challenge that, it can be really confronting. And then if this conversation is used to avoid looking at that, so instead of really taking those words and seeing, well, is that true? Are there areas where my behavior is out of order, where I'm not being honest, or where I don't have integrity? Instead of doing that, if I'm saying, well, there's no me, there's no them, there's no behavior really, it's all just an appearance within the field of intelligence that I am, so therefore I'm not going to listen to any criticism. I'm going to leave this conversation and go and sit in my spiritual ivory tower. That's just ego at work. That's just protection of identity. All the time, this conversation, if it is to have any validity whatsoever, is the attention needs to move deeper into the challenges, the confrontations, the areas of content that seem unjust or unfair, or where change needs to happen. Moving deeper, using the attention of the body-mind as a way of, like a laser really, to move into these areas, problem solving through bringing sanity and clarity into whatever questions are going on. That is true accountability. And it means that along the way, the identity and the ego will be confronted, and there will be a healing really of the need, shame, fear, and insecurity that makes up that identity. And that's the healthy process. So by moving deeper in, allowing reality really to reveal what is being grasped onto, what's being used as a way of securing the sense of what I am, that's really powerful, really healthy. And it's the opposite to using this conversation. There's no reality, there's no self, there's no other, as a way to exit situations, as a way to avoid taking any responsibility or accountability, and to retreat with the sort of castle walls intact around this fragile ego identity. So it's powerful. It's really powerful. And our minds are desperate for this conversation, because this conversation is total sanity. And there is nothing more exhausting than the human mind, which is so capable, so able, so powerful, churning around, ruminating, lost in trying to solve a problem that cannot be solved because it is a problem of its own creation. And that is how to secure the separate identity, how to secure this idea of what I am within a world, within a reality that is entirely existing because of that conditioned belief of what I am. All that happens there is that the subconscious understanding, the subconscious fears, needs, shame, and insecurity projects a world. It looks objectively separate and objectively real, but it's a projection from the same conditioned beliefs that create that fragile ego identity. And that because it looks separate and real, it reconfirms that belief system. I call that re-traumatization. It's like a cyclical, never-ending repetition of the original beliefs that have created that fragility. And we see it. So the more When we're feeling most vulnerable, most insecure, the world looks most indifferent, doesn't it? We pick up in people's tones and in their language that they're frustrated with us, we're annoying, we're a failure, we're not as good as them. It's all made of the same stuff, but it looks completely like a separate objective reality. Me here, the world there, other people there. But it's made of the same thing. In that beautiful quote from Deepak Chopra, all co-arising and co-evolving as a result of our own self-interactions. And our own self-interactions is this exploration. It is the exploration of what I really am, where behavior is coming from, what is really at stake when the ego is challenged. It's so powerful. And so this question, what is reality? Sounds like a crazy question on the surface, but really it's the fundamental inquiry which ultimately leads to a life lived in freedom and sanity, and in which reality is continually revealing a deeper and deeper truth. Yeah, so thank you. Lots of love. Bye. Thank you for listening to Superpowered Mind with me, Claire Diamond. If you want extra support in the exploration of your mind, download our exclusive subliminal recording, especially for podcast listeners, on bit.ly/podcast subliminal.